Greetings, Platon here. Or Platon if you just so happen to be Mons the Iron Cock. This is my submission to the fourth cursed calling circus, which I, quite frankly, had completely forgotten about until it was already a month since the announcement video was released. Silly me. To this very day, I'm still unsure as to what to name this monstrosity that I've created and successfully integrated into my lore. And divine Daneva-Bille Pidgin, although somewhat inaccurate, is my best bet as of now. Now, without further ado, let's get to storytelling. May God help me. The sculptor, the almighty god of all things matter of the solar system where Earth resides, had one moment grown bored. It was sure that already seen all humans are capable of, yet couldn't quite create anything new. For one, that could as well put everything it already had in danger. And two, it was, and is, utterly stupid and nearly devoid of creativity. At first it seemed like its only choice was to simply endure the boredom that was upon it, but then it remembered other solar systems exist. And so it searched and found one to its liking. One of the planets was neatly inhabited by creatures just vaguely humanoid, their technology a good bunch above what even Daneva had in store at the time, and their deity blissfully ignorant to the sculptor's existence. Those humanoids, they were the perfect specimen for whatever our divine dumbass had in its omnipresent mind. There was just one problem. Their solar system was not, in fact, in the sculptor's domain. Thus, it couldn't interact with it directly. It couldn't hijack a couple of aliens to Earth. It couldn't even talk to them like it could to humans. Their language had not been documented by the Oracle, nor could the Consular quite get into the aliens' minds. It was devastating. But the sculptor, fueled by boredom, was determined. And so, it took a piece of charcoal and yeeted it across the stars, straight to the desired planet, and started writing on the clean walls and ceilings of the fanciest humanoids it could see, sending another piece of coal from someone's fireplace after another, whenever the current one happened to run out. What it wrote was incomprehensible, to say the least. Vague drawings of things that it thought the aliens were familiar with, mixed in with loanwords from Daneva, with added lines crossed as arches in an attempt to put together something at least somewhat resembling of a sentence structure. At this point you can probably guess what it was trying to convey. Straight up propaganda. An attempt to convince the locals to build some sort of rocket and come pay it a visit. But to them, for months on end, it was nothing but gibberish. While they were at it, they quite frankly didn't always have access to a whiteboard or a sheet of paper to replicate the sculptor's doodles on, and thus they resorted to something as utterly stupid as describing something like Chinese characters verbally, line by line, could ever be. And that is what we're covering today. But first, a quick excursus on what this hideous thing consists of. Daneva. A language spoken in Daneva, a country approximately the size of Finland to the upper left of the Aackase Sea on the map. It is used exclusively as a source of loanwords for whatever the sculptor tries to mumble out, so I will not be covering the grammar as well as the pronunciation gimmicks of it in this video. The consonants are pa, ba, ta, da, ka, ga, ma, na, nya, nga, fa, va, tha, da, sa, za, sha, ja, sya, ya, ha, ga, ya, la. The vowels, on the other hand, are I, U, E, U, E, Ö, A, 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 O, U, O. More than half of them only used in diphthongs. While the alphabet, in the order shown in the corner, is an initial and medial forms of a and a, then o, u, I, y, bamba, tanda, sanza, shanja, fanva, kanga, ma, na, la. The letters da, da, ka, and ga sometimes also represent the sounds tha, the, ha, and ga. A couple things I'd also like to mention are: first, Daneva is a highly agglutinative language, and second, voicedness is mostly seen as a property of an entire consonant cluster, not just one consonant. Thus, voicedness is a diacritic, although built into the capital variants of each letter, and is only placed at the starting letter of a consonant cluster. This is the next week, and this time I got some sleep, so my accent should be gone now. Now for our second ingredient, Bille. It is the language we're focusing the most on today, thankfully or frankly. It is an exclusively head initial, mostly analytic language spoken on the planet Tlaxertica, the origin of the name of which even the locals fail to elaborate on, let alone myself. The climate is, by earthly standards, extremely humid and stably hot. Most regions never ever seeing snow, as even in the winter the temperatures rarely get under 0 degrees Celsius, or 32 degrees in units anywhere but the very poles. But we don't care about that, we're covering the language here, not the Tlaxertica weather forecast. Moving on. So the basic sentence structure is the following. A verb, the subject, and the most direct object, separated by this little wedge the locals call irrete, which puts a rising tone here and a falling tone here, if both the object and the subject are present, or if only one is present, does so accordingly and shows up as an additional phoneme. Then the adverbs strictly here, adjectives of the subject strictly here, and of the object strictly here, plus what I call additional information, an optional cluster mostly containing secondary objects marked with the particle de. The language does not use cases at all unless you count the use of the irrite, and prepositions are used instead. Now for the phonetics and some alien anatomy with it. This is a side section of your average Tlaxertica inhabitant. As you can hopefully see, they've devolved from amphibians not so long ago. One giant nostril up here, going straight into the lungs, with vocal cords deep down here, and a valve right here, going into the mouth, allowing them to speak. This does mean that their range of nasal sounds is quite narrow. Their M representing a nasal sound with some air going into the closed mouth, creating pressure and making it sound a little deeper, and their N is simply air going straight from their lungs out their nose with a hum. There is also a muscle just above their vocal cords, meant to additionally prevent choking on water, that they use for pretty much 2 additional phonemes, which I will be lining up to h and sound-wise, although to be completely accurate, they're more like h and Now, their writing system is pretty straightforward, so I think we'll do without an IPA chart here. E, a, u, b, f, s, z, sh, th, d, g, m, n, h, r, Psych, it's all actually written top to bottom, like good old traditional Mongolian. Note that the glottal stop can sometimes be dropped entirely if you're in a rush, converting vowels separated by it into simple diphthongs, although that's not at all recommended. Another thing to notice is that they cannot round their lips. This does mean all of their vowels are unrounded. Time-related verb tenses are non-existent, mostly describing the way an action happens, like the verb endings I is a point event, A is a continuous event, and E is an event on some regular basis, is an event in the near future and or speculation, Lo or tho is a yes or no question, Ma is an imperative, and Dor or Dar specifies that the action happens on multiple occasions. And for the sole purpose of distinguishing between the object and or the adjectives of the previous sentence, and the adverbs of the next sentence, two types of connective particles exist. Ones for nouns and adjectives, es for an and or, and eze for an exclusive or, and ones for verbs and verb clusters. Tes for an and or, taze for an exclusive or, and za, marking the previous event as the direct cause of the next one. But how in Thachirtikach do the humanoids refer to context outside the main sentence, you may ask? That's right, links are used. Oh, so many links. In short, we got ga, which is the sentence following the current one as a phrasal verb. We got neth, which acts as a freaking two-way portal between two similar sentences, linking their corresponding nouns or adjectives as one shared between the two. We also got kin, the last mentioned subject, ha, the last mentioned direct object, and lo, the last mentioned action. All of these, except for ga and neth, can get numbers assigned to them, offsetting the thing they're referring to by one. For example, thakin, literally kin 1, can be used to refer to the subject previous to the last mentioned one, making it possible to tell a story involving more than one character using just one pronoun if you use it right, completely solving the gay fanfiction problem. Oh, and e is a neat little particle to separate two verb clusters if nothing else can be used. Lastly, the number system. It is base 8, where the humanoids only got 8 fingers to spare, and here's how it works. We figure out what we're counting. If it's the verb or the subject, the number goes before it. If it's the object or one of the indirect objects, it comes after it. With that figured out, we put the word in plural. For verbs, it's tor or tor. For nouns, it's e or er. Then, regardless of where the number is now, we first say 3 words to name the first digit. A number from 1 to 8, the particle na, vaguely meaning in or inside, and the power of said number. Then we count normally. The counting itself works just like what we're so familiar with does, except without any extra detail like saying 100,000 and so on every few digits, where the aliens are used to this and are smart enough to just do the math in their heads. Besides, if you want to name a large number quickly, you can do so with just 3 syllables, the way you'd name the largest digit in a number normally. The digits are un, tha, eth, az, pos, pash, it, and pu, which is a shorthand for 8. For now, that is it for bitha. Now for the last link of the chain, which is, I'm thinking, quite a not-looking chain with just 3 links in it, but whatever. The sculptor's mind, and the nonsense it spews out in the form of hieroglyphics. It's really straightforward, actually. The basic sentence structure is this. The subject, blocked off by the spy-shaped thing with modifiers on top, which can be a negation particle, an imperative one, both somewhat resembling the arch itself coincidentally, and adverbs taken from Daneva. To the right of that are the objects in general. We'll get to that in a second. Adjectives or nouns serving as adjectives go above their corresponding nouns with the separation in between, and these can stack. Yes, you could technically stack donuts on it and get a donut, donut, donut of donut, donut, donuts. And pretty much lastly, the so above called objects use noun cases. There's 5 of them. A noun, or very rarely a verb cluster, goes here, and the cases are the following: simple objective case, N on the table; instrumental case, N with the cross; causative case, N on the table with the cross; illative case, N on the table with the cross underlined; and inessive case, N underlined. The way I just described these is the way the humanoids verbally describe them. When describing an object, they first describe the case, then the adjectives. There's just 5 verbs in this Tokipo noun crack of a language that aren't loanwords from Daneva, and they all are mostly dedicated to the sculptor's abilities. To create, or rather to spawn into existence; to destroy, or rather to delete; to interact and or to change the state of something; to acknowledge something or a statement; and to convey something. The verbs do not conjugate, like, at all. The sculptor ain't got enough brain power for that. Of pronouns, there's just 4. You, the viewer of the glorious doodles; what has been said before; what will be said in the next sentence; and something that can be vaguely interpreted as the thing we're talking about. Okay, technically 5 pronouns, the lack of one implies the sculptor, for according to the sculptor, nothing happens all by itself. Yeah, sure buddy, we believe you, keep thinking that. The last 2 of the 5 verbs sometimes use verb clusters as objects, but mostly use the second and third pronouns instead, to refer to some statements outside the current one, kinda like in Bethlehem. And as you already know, literally all the nouns in this language are either hieroglyphics, which the humanoid straight up just call by the name of the thing they refer to, or loanwords from Daneva, which they transcribe using their writing system. This concludes us to this. Take a look. How do they know how Daneva words are pronounced? The sculptor told them, with side sections. With this, we've pretty much got the sentence we're looking for, right here. Except we don't know how to read it out loud yet. Let's see how the humanoids would do it. First of all, the subject blocked off from the verb on the object structure, the humanoids describe as Kerat subject, verb, and objects. Seeing my language has verbs, except they're technically nouns, apparently. Second, nouns with adjectives are described as noun cut adjective, literally noun under adjective. That's it. Noun cases are probably the most tedious of the mix, because ones with the table require a separate verb cluster with the verb bun, as in they refer to the noun from the sentence bun neth noun table, using the neth. The cross and the underline are just adjectives, nothing crazy. And verbs and pronouns, these are just straight up descriptions of the glyphs. Not gonna take time to describe them individually, for I am in a hurry. Ooh. Oh, and sometimes the object is placed right under the verb with the line between them if the sculptor decides so. So, the sentence is the following. Oh dear. Bar Kratzig ze faxi ze kat mu'than Kratzig ze faxe kat uskat parte sigorte am o sig ze faxe se ko a kate atos fasiga ze kat über asto es I ade a mo o sig ze faxe se ko a paranes fasiga ze kat katasti kat über asto bonanes osta. Az abar rad kubakat sigzu faxe siku sote a ko a lach kanef pasi ga izu kat sigzu faxe si. Kashat ekakarkat sigzu faxe si haz ga a ko a shiska nes pasi ga izu kat sigzu faxe si. Bunana sota. Kashat emaki kat sigzu faxe si emerik kat hutaha. Kashat kat zo si gizu faxe si mere a ko a emake neth kat sigzu faxe se. Kashat sigzu faxe si hake a ko a egone. Kashat sigzu faxe si nele a ko a medelis neth kat sigzu faxe se. Bone netholta. Gerrat segiző paxo se cartos kadga gerrat ugarritis ugartot a gerrat seni asa dot a ko a oha gazo kat segiző paxo se. Which is vaguely a strike, a line crossing another line, separated from a serpent with majestic above it, a line crossing another line, with a box and an arch above it, separated from weave above a line crossing another line, with a net loom, underlined and crossed, with infinity above it, and coil above a line crossing another line, with a net wheel, underlined and crossed, with despair above it, with infinity above it. All that is net is on the table. 3 strikes, jaws with a line crossing another line above it, separated from closed shut, with net flesh, underlined and crossed, with a line crossing another line above it. Fangs with a line crossing another line above it, separated from sting, with net tail, underlined and crossed, with a line crossing another line above it. All that is net is on the table. Bones with the line crossing another line above it, separated from ribs with eternity above it. A line crossing another line with the entirety of the previous sentence above it, separated from na with net bones with a line crossing another line above it. A line crossing another line, separated from siphoning with net eternity. A line crossing another line with the entirety of the previous sentence above it, separated from drink with net marrow, with the line crossing another line above it. A line crossing another line, separated from beast with devourer, separated from devoured above it. A whisper separated from swallowed with echo, crossed with a line crossing another line above it. I'm never touching this creation of mine again. No IPA transcription of this mess for you. Sorry. All images either made by me or taken from free sources. All background music made by me. Thank you for your time you voiced so generously, and until next time.